Hello there.
This is where the fun begins.
Hey there guys, Unofficial Star Wars here, hope you're all doing well, and welcome to our Andor Episode 9 review / breakdown video here. Of course, we're going to be talking all Andor spoilers in this video, it goes without saying, so if you haven't already seen any of the Andor episodes, click off the video now, go watch it, and come back. In this video, I'm going to be doing something a little bit different in those regards as well. I'll be taking a read from IGN.com in their article, which I'll have fully linked in the description down below there as well, giving an overall breakdown and gist of the episode, and of course I'll have my own thoughts and opinions and theories and suspicions there as well throughout this video here as well. Let's go ahead and hop right on into it. As the article reads, Episode 9 of Andor dives deeper into the dark side of the galaxy. The weight of the Empire is crushing down on everyone as its long arms attempt to smother any resistance and rebel activity. Through more incredibly well-written dialogue and strong performances with acting, it again displays its credentials as a great TV show, not afraid to separate itself from other Star Wars projects, feeling much more human as a result. And so, as if we didn't already know, the Empire was evil enough, they're now bringing out the torture techniques. Episode 9's opening scene is one of not a million miles from an early interrogation in Catherine Bigelow's Zero Dark 30, a film where the supposed good guys reportedly use questionable methods to achieve their goals. In Andor, we see the firmly evil Empire following in their footsteps, yet again driving home the show's core themes of the blurry gray areas between good and evil, especially during this time of the Star Wars galaxy in canon. It's a fantastic beginning to a great episode, and one where Denise Gow, the actress for Dead Romero, once again quietly dominates with a sneer and a hiss. Dead Romero is proving to be a fantastic villain with no redeeming features, a fascist becoming a louder voice of a fascist regime. Andor is meticulously made TV show, not only in its layered writing and clinical set design work, but in its castings as well, which is particularly a brilliant and completely intentional in placing white characters always on the side of wielding power. It presents a stark reflection of our own world and its history of persecution. In doing so, it further distances Andor from being a typical show set in the Star Wars universe, and one much more at home in ours. This is a grown-up television tackling complicated subjects, not just as offering up surface-level readings of them, but actually regulating and putting a mirror up to ourselves. Back in prison, Cassian's leadership is starting to shine through, gnomed by nature. He's not one to stay in place for long, so he naturally begins to hatch an escape plan and really get wiggly at that. A more bolder and determined Andor allows Diego Luna to find his own voice more throughout the show. Luna is at his best when Cassian has the bit between his teeth and is an objective to complete. He's a character consistently finding a purpose no matter how far he tries to run from responsibility, something Luna excels in displaying with a cold look to most, but a boyish smile to those very few he trusts. His natural charisma is even enough to sow seeds in the mind of Andy Serkis's headstrong Kino Loy, a role he's fantastic in and which serves as some nice redemption for his wasted efforts as ultimately nothing character Snoke in the Star Wars sequels. Episode 9 builds much more on the solid, but sometimes plotting, foundations of last week. It's a stirring depiction of an oppressive jail environment, remnants of the chrome and plastic Papillion with shades of Hoffman and McQueen seen in many members of Cassian's jail inmates. They're using a signing to a clever metaphor for how hard it is to silence a movement. They each have something different to offer to the equation and do well in to create a believable environment for Andor to want to escape from. Its mantra of humans being cheaper and easier to replace and androids coming to a stark and devastating reality. It is welcome to see more of Mon Mothma in the Senate as well. The jeering hecklers are another stark mirroring of reality, as I have flashes of my own shambles of British government play out in front of me, says the article, author here. Once again, going ahead and connecting how this show connects a lot of different contributions and correlationships at that to the real world. It's a short but significant scene that highlights how much speaking for the good of the people can feel like screaming into the void when faced with an administration that looks down on the masses. Genevieve O'Reilly is fantastic in her portraying of a thoroughly empathetic character going up against an empire that ignores such a concept. Mon Mothma is the light at the central of Andor, an unshakable moral compass that we learn to appreciate more with every week as we discover the battles she has to fight before Rogue One and the original trilogy. Her conversations with Vel are particularly important as two powerful women trying to make their male-dominant galaxy a better place. It's a point further emphasized by Mon Mothma's tedious husband remarking about everything and everyone is political these days. Little does he know the kind of show he's in, though one Latin in politics and meditating on the bad in our world in the best possible way. Director Toby Haynes delectably juggles the different locations at play as well throughout this episode, giving each and the characters within the moments to really shine. It's such a shame we didn't get to see any more of the fantasticking Luthen and Saw Gerrera dynamic, although that established last week I think is something that I think will pop up again in future episodes of the show. It again doesn't move the plot along a ton, keeping many of its characters rooted physically to locations, but instead inching them around its theoretical galactic chessboard. It's not a flashy episode by any means, but it's just full of substance that only fleshes out the galaxy of Andor further, a galaxy that Andor himself hopes to be exploring freely again soon after breaking out of jail in the third installment of this 3-episode arc in next week's episode 10 of Andor. From there, the article concludes with a final verdict reading that a great exploration of systematic issues that plague both Cassian's worlds and ours, episode 9 of Andor is a fantastic example of what sets this show apart from overall every other show and other Star Wars shows as well. It's a classy operation with the writing, acting, and music all top notch. Even when seemingly not pushing the overarching plot along with any major haste, it quietly moves its pieces into place ahead of sparking the next fire into action. From there, that is where the article concludes, and as I had mentioned, I have this full article linked in the description down below for you guys to check out there as well. This overall episode, as I had previously mentioned in our reaction video here on the channel I put out yesterday at the time of recording this video, I really talked about and wanted to emphasize on the idea that seeing that this overall show is broken up into the 3-episode arcs and that this would be episode 2 out of 3, seeing that episode 10 next week would be the 3rd installment to this 3-episode arc, being the big one, the big heister type of thing, the big action-packed type of episode. This year would be a more mellow type of episode, especially compared to the first episode in that arc. It's just meant to be more slower before the big boom, the big I guess plot happens and everything really goes on and happens from there. Of course, as I had also mentioned, the overall ending of this episode left me absolutely speechless and mind blown. I loved it, and I cannot wait to see what goes on here with episode 10 here next week, as I had mentioned, and really the overall continuation of this overall show there as well. A lot of different things in this overall show as a whole, and this episode there as well, is very self-explanatory. It doesn't really require an in-depth analysis or breakdown or anything like that, different Easter eggs and that type of thing. Something, however, I will like to talk about here is that in the way many different, I guess, Easter eggs and references had been mentioned in this episode, like different species and different planets or different people and that type of thing, and there's just no correlation. I looked it up, and they are just things that have never been seen in Star Wars. They're completely new, and there's nothing to really know anything else about them aside from what was told to us about them in this overall Andor episode. That all being said, I want to know your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below. What do you guys think here about Andor episode 9 and the overall show? I'd love to hear what you guys all think in the comments down below. Of course, this has been Unofficial Star Wars. Thanks so much for watching today's video. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Have a great one, guys. May the Force be with you as always. Peace out.